going on, guys? Back in the shop today. Today's going to be kind of a boring video, so don't even bother watching. But what we're going to do is change the coolant in the Razor. It's the original coolant from 2020. It's probably still good. I just had a problem overheating a little bit last year. I know my coolant's a little low. I could probably add a little bit. But it's going on its fourth season. I got the coolant. I'm just going to change it out. Also going to change oil on the machine and oil filter, obviously. But in order to do that, I've got to take this box and this box out of the machine and make some room. Remove the bed. I mean, this is super boring stuff. If you watch this video, I'll be amazed. I also, my particle separator, some point during the season last year, stopped working. Power isn't getting to it, so I've got a break in the wire somewhere between the rear of the machine and the front of the machine where it's getting power. So we're going to investigate that. In order to do any of this stuff, I got to take all this stuff out of the back as well. This is our setup for our dogs. This is just in here because it's normally in our camper. But I got to take out the little dog's little basket, take out the big dog's little area so that I can access the back of the machine. So we're going to get started doing that. All right, so this past week I got into a discussion with the guy that could run circles around me as far as mechanic skills, knowledge, experience. His name is Don. Those of you who know him from the one pager on FTE, shout out to Don, you're a legend. And he has a different machine. He has a Razor Rocks and Trails edition, and I've never worked on one of those before. And he had mentioned that he had sealed bearings on his wheels, and, you know, why am I greasing them? I've always heard that's a bad idea, which I don't disagree with anything he's saying there. I just assumed he had a different bearing in his machine than I do in my Pro XP, because different machine, the parts aren't interchangeable. A sealed bearing is just what it sounds. You can't, it's sealed up, it blocks out the dust, the mud, you know, everything. It's got enough grease in there, and it's sealed. And he assumed that's, you know, what I had on my machine. And I mean, Don, I don't know, I just didn't say anything because Don knows a lot more about this stuff than I do. But I do agree with Don, it would be a bad idea to grease a sealed bearing unless you are going to completely disassemble the shield, the dust seal, if you will. Clean it all out and then apply the correct amount of grease and then reseal that bearing. I've never had the patience to do that. I mean, when I've done that in the past, I usually damage the seal taking it out, to be honest with you. And I get frustrated. I just would buy a new bearing. On my Razor, and it turns out his as well, they are not sealed bearings. They've got this, let's see if I can show this on camera well, but there is a split in the bearing right there. All right, so you can see on my bearing right here, there is a split. And what that is for, you can see as you separate it, it gets pretty large. And what it is, and how this works, is you insert a tool like this. This one happens to be by Havoc. There is a ton of different manufacturers of this tool. I chose the Havoc one because it's aluminum and it's got an O-ring, and it's what I happen to buy. I think there's tons of tools out there. The concept is the same. You got a Zerk. This is hollowed out inside. And then you have holes right here in the tool that will shoot grease into the bearing in this split. Okay, so you're going to take the tool, you're going to push it in like this. It is now sealed, and as you push grease, it is going to push it into the bearing. This is a junk bearing, by the way. If you don't save your bearings, you know, that's I guess up to you. I happen to save my bearings, at least one random, you know, for every machine that your buddy has or whatever. I always save one so that you can use this bearing to push in your new bearing on the machine rather than using a socket or whatnot. It's just this way you're pushing perfectly on the body of the bearing and not on a seal, you know, that sort of thing. That's why I do it. Anyway, so these holes line up with this center seal throughout here. So as you push it in there and you push grease into here, you're greasing it from the inside of that seal out. And why it can be bad, you can see this thing's been beat a few times, but if you start seeing a bunch of grease coming out here, you have way too much grease in that bearing. And that can wear parts as well as all you're doing is adding a spot for, you know, mud and grime to collect. So when you're pushing grease into the bearing, it's a good idea to just pump a few times. And when you start seeing grease seep out of this inner seal here, that's when you know, hey, you've got enough in there and you don't want to just keep, you know, hounding grease in there. So that's how I do it. I'm not saying that's the correct way to do it. I'm saying that's how I do it. And I can tell you, when I was pounding tons of grease in here, I went through a bearing in a year, which is crazy fast wear. But again, these things are submerged in water and mud with our use, which is, I mean, stupid to do. Don't get me wrong. No, there's going to be absolutely no argument for me that that is not intended use, but it's what we end up doing half the time. And then it'll turn around and go immediately into rock climbing. So these things see a lot of wear and tear. This one's all grimy and gross. You can feel it. But anyway, that's how we like to ride. You got to pay to play. My friend Steve says that all the time, and my buddy Darren did as well. That's such a true statement. You want to play, you're going to pay. Whether you want to or not, that's what's going to happen. So anyway, quick little just what I do on my machine. We were talking about this week, so I thought I'd follow up with it. Great. Don's a great resource of mine, and whenever I run into trouble, he's always helped me. So when we were discussing it, I'm like, man, if I question what I'm doing, there's got to be somebody else that'll benefit, you know, from this discussion. And anyway, just appreciative of Don for bringing that up. Thanks. All right, so we got those toolboxes out. Man, that looks nasty. This was clean, but no, this is actually the bed of a Razor XP Pro. And this is what it looks like even though you wash your machine. It's pretty gross. Anyway, okay, so down here, I've got two riv nuts that I put into the side of my bed. And it's kind of weird why they're there, but that is what holds my catch can in. So I just gotta remove those two bolts, which the one is always a nightmare to get to, but it's just how I did it and where I put my catch can. I'm not a big fan of it, but it is what it is. I do it every time. So I'll get that catch can released and we'll be able to take out this bed. To take it out, you've got just some, what are these? I think T50s, T40s. You got bolts, one here, one here, one here, one here, and the bed just literally pops right out. Super simple, makes it easier to work on the engine, as well as my particle separator. I'm thinking maybe I can find the culprit, loose wire, broken wire, whatever there, and we'll see if we can't get power. Before I do that, I gotta take that catch can off, so here we go. Alright, so here you go. Got access to the oil fill. This is the sensor wire for my S&B particle filter. I believe that's the power wire way over there. And you can see my coolant reservoir. I mean, it's slightly low. I mean, this is a cold fill. This is the line of the coolant. Is that enough for it to run hot? Man, I doubt it, but who knows? I gotta pull that speaker so I have access to fill the coolant, which involves, it's kind of a pain in the ass, but whatever. I'll take that out real quick, and we'll get to work. But first, I got to clear out the back seat. All right, guys. I started off, cleared off the back. Obviously, took off the back panels and whatnot, and my wiring for my particle separator was all bundled up in here, and I wanted to find out if I had power coming back to the harness for it. And, you know, how do you check that, whatever. I know there's a ton of you that know exactly how to do this, but just in case there's somebody who doesn't know basic diagnostics, you know, all you're doing, get yourself a cheap little test light like this, hook it to a ground over here. Got hooked to a frame ground, nothing fancy. I got my key on, I'm gonna hit the power, and the light comes on. So I got power there. Yes, you can do it with the multimeter, you can do it with much fancier stuff, but I think these are like 10 bucks at the hardware store. It's something everyone should have just to see if they got power or not. All right, so I ended up removing the entire particle separator, and this seal is just crap. It's been giving me trouble since I first got it, but basically the other housing like compresses on here and it's supposed to seal up, but it doesn't do all that great of a job. But anyway, it is what it is. I drain the oil, put a new filter on, drain the coolant, got the coolant refilled. I'm just above the cold line. I ended up putting in a new air filter as well. That's right in here. I didn't film any of that. You guys have seen that stuff enough, and if you're watching this kind of video, you likely already know how to do that stuff. If not, there's plenty of other videos online. But I'll show you over at that particle separator. It's all cleaned up now. What it ended up being is this fan is dead. This is the fan that gets attached to right here, and this was pretty dirty. Likely a maintenance issue. I don't know. I'll blame myself. But I gotta tell you, I'm not real happy with S&B. I'm gonna order a new fan, see if I can get this thing working. If not, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, but we'll figure it out. But this is the part number. They say I can't find this exact part number. I'm gonna order a replacement one, and if I have to, I'll MacGyver this thing somehow, but we're gonna let's see what happens, so stay tuned. Alright, so finally got this S&B out, and wanted to talk a little bit about S&B and what I think of their customer service, their product and whatnot. Alright, so here's the particle separator. This part is your air intake. This is in the fender. Engine's over here. Air comes down through here into the part that separates the particles, and I'll show you how that works. This is got a gasket between it right here, and it like pushes the two together in theory. So this is that gasket I was talking about. Other part just kind of compresses on here. This is the part that separates the dirty air. Dirty air drops, clean air comes out here, and that goes up to the engine. Down here is the fan, and this exhausts out the dirty air. So that's how that works. The issue is this never sealed, and dirt would get in there and it wouldn't work all that well. And this is the part that gets amazing. I'll explain this to you next. So, not sponsored. I called up S&B because the part number on my fan did not match what you could buy online to replace it. So I wanted to call them, and I talked to a guy on their customer service line, and basically what he really wanted to talk about is the problems I was having with the unit. And I was getting, I don't want to say like pissed off or anything like that, but I was kind of getting annoyed because I figured, look, dude, I want a yes or no answer. Is this fan going to work? And he's wanting to talk about the performance of the fan and why the fan broke and all this stuff. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, I'm like, this guy really cares about what's going on here. Okay. So I kind of changed my attitude to match his, because he was being super nice. And I calmed down, you know, because I don't know, I was just in that, I just want to get the replacement part. I've not been satisfied with how your parts performed since day one. But you and I both know it's been, you know, 4 years since I put this thing on my machine, and there's nothing you're going to do about it anyway. But yeah, I was wrong. They listened to me, heard what was going on, said, that thing's not worked right for you since day one. And I'm like, no. And they said, you're not alone. There's been a lot of guys that bought this particle separator for the Pro XP, and they have not been happy with the two-piece design. So they came up with a new design and replaced it. And as shocked as I am to say it, they said they'd send me, basically I had to buy a new one, put in the new one, take my old one, ship it back to them in the same box. They gave me a shipping label. As soon as they get the old one back, they're going to credit my account. Has it happened yet? No, I don't know. I got the new one today. Cost me another $500, but I'm going to package up the old one, return it back to them with the shipping label they gave me, and you know, I'll update you. You know, if I got my money back or not, I'll let you know. Hopefully I do, and that would be awesome. But regardless, I'm just happy that this thing is going to work, and I do think it's going to work flawless now. The one-piece design, I've had a one-piece design in the past. It worked really good. So I'm expecting the same results to that now. Well, there you have it. It's all back together. Gearbox in there. She works good. I've got it. Looks like I got to add a zip tie there, but I'll do that real quick. But no, it's looking pretty good. All right, guys, I'm back. I thought I'd give you a little update on the S&B particle separator. I sent the old one back. The new one's installed. It's definitely quieter. I would say, I don't know, at least half. It's at least 50% quieter, I would say, than the other one. Seems to be working great, but the best news is I sent the old one back. They sent me, you know, you just return it in the box that the new one came in. They give you an RA number to put on the box. They give you a posted paid FedEx label, you know, put on the box, send it back. It took FedEx, you know, like 2 years to get it back there. Not 2 years. It was like 5 days, I think. But it's going from Wisconsin to California. I just don't have great luck with FedEx. Sorry, FedEx, if you're watching, but UPS consistently kicks your butt, but that's not what this is about. It took them 2 or 3 days to recognize they had the package, I would say. That's just a guess. I don't really know. I know they received it on a Tuesday afternoon from FedEx, and Friday afternoon, my account was credited the full amount of the new particle separator. So huge shout out to S&B for being a really good company, doing the right thing. I wasn't even looking for that. I was looking for a replacement fan motor, and they lived through me being annoying and kind of impatient, just trying to get the information, and they pumped me for more information and went above and beyond. So I think that's pretty awesome, and I have their products on my truck, on our Jeep, and now, well, I've had them on a Razor since day one, but now I'm just super happy with their company. So that takes care of that. Thanks.